For more than 1,000 years, Constantinople stood as the greatest Christian city in the East. Its massive walls had defeated countless armies, and its churches had witnessed the prayers of generations. But in the spring of 1453, an army unlike any before arrived at its gates. By the next sunrise, one empire would fall, and history would change forever. The city of Constantinople had long been regarded as the crown jewel of Christendom. Founded by Emperor Constantine the Great in the 4th century, it became the capital of the Byzantine Empire and one of the most influential cities the world had ever known. Its magnificent churches, bustling markets, and towering defensive walls symbolized the strength of a civilization that had preserved Christian culture for over 1,000 years. While kingdoms rose and disappeared across Europe, Constantinople remained standing, resisting siege after siege through courage, engineering, and faith. But by the 15th century, the empire that once ruled the eastern Mediterranean had been reduced to little more than the city itself. The Ottoman Empire had conquered nearly every surrounding territory, leaving Constantinople isolated. In 1453, the young Sultan Mehmed II saw an opportunity that generations of Muslim rulers had failed to achieve. Determined to capture the city, he gathered an army estimated at more than 80,000 soldiers, accompanied by massive cannons unlike anything the defenders had ever faced. Inside the city, Emperor Constantine XI understood the reality before him. He commanded only a few thousand Byzantine soldiers, supported by a small number of foreign volunteers, especially experienced Genoese warriors led by Giovanni Giustiniani. Together they defended walls that stretched for miles, knowing they were heavily outnumbered. Yet surrender was never seriously considered. For the emperor and his people, Constantinople was more than a city. It was the heart of their faith, their culture, and their identity. When the Ottoman cannons opened fire, the earth itself seemed to shake. Day after day, enormous stone projectiles slammed into the legendary Theodosian walls. Sections of the defenses crumbled, only to be rebuilt overnight by exhausted defenders working under the cover of darkness. Every morning, the bombardment began again. Smoke filled the air, churches echoed with prayers, and citizens carried supplies to the walls, while priests encouraged both soldiers and civilians to remain faithful. As the siege dragged on, food became scarce. Every victory was temporary, every repair more difficult than the last. Even so, morale remained surprisingly strong. The defenders believed that if they held long enough, Christian kingdoms in the West might send help. Days turned into weeks, but no great army appeared on the horizon. Constantinople stood alone. On the evening of the 28th of May, 1453, an unusual peace settled over the city. Everyone knew the final assault would come before dawn. That night, thousands of Christians gathered inside Hagia Sophia, the greatest church in the Byzantine world. Nobles stood beside merchants, soldiers prayed alongside monks, and ordinary families knelt together beneath the immense dome. Old divisions that had separated people for generations disappeared as they shared one final service, receiving communion together while asking God for courage. After the service ended, Emperor Constantine XI walked among his soldiers. Ancient accounts describe him thanking the defenders personally and asking their forgiveness for any wrongs he had committed as their ruler. He reminded them that they were fighting not only for their homeland, but also for their families, their freedom, and their faith. Many understood they would never see another sunrise. Before dawn on May 29, the Ottoman attack began. Wave after wave of soldiers charged toward the damaged walls. Arrows darkened the sky, drums thundered across the battlefield, and the sound of cannon fire echoed throughout the city. The defenders resisted with extraordinary determination, driving back several assaults despite overwhelming odds. The battle reached its turning point when Giovanni Giustiniani, one of the city's greatest military leaders, was severely wounded. His evacuation from the walls caused confusion among the defenders. At nearly the same time, Ottoman troops discovered a small gate that had been left unsecured during the chaos of battle. Soldiers poured through the opening, attacking the defenders from behind. Realizing the city had been breached, Emperor Constantine XI refused to flee. According to tradition, he removed the imperial insignia from his armor so that he would die as an ordinary soldier among his people. Drawing his sword, he charged into the fighting. He was never seen alive again. His body was never identified with certainty, giving rise to centuries of legends surrounding his final moments. As Ottoman banners rose above the walls, the 1,000-year-old Byzantine Empire came to an end. Mehmed II entered Constantinople later that day, and eventually transformed Hagia Sophia into a mosque, marking the beginning of a new era. Yet, although the empire had fallen, the Christian faith it had protected for centuries did not disappear. Byzantine scholars fled westward, carrying priceless manuscripts, preserving ancient knowledge that would help fuel the Renaissance. Christian communities continued to survive throughout the region, keeping alive traditions that endure even today. The fall of Constantinople was far more than the collapse of a city. It marked the end of one of history's greatest Christian civilizations and reshaped the future of Europe and the Middle East forever. More than 5 centuries later, the courage of those final defenders continues to remind us that while walls can fall and empires can vanish, faith often outlives them all.